if you look down at the bottom, there's a chat feature. So during the tour, if you have any questions at all, you can just type in the chat. So we'll wait a couple more minutes, but while we're waiting for some other people to join, I just wanted to kind of take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Courtney Blackburn Matsoki, and I am the founder of Azzurro Dream Travel. We specialize in custom tailor-made tours to Italy. So we work with a lot of fabulous people like the tour guide that you're about to meet today, Igor. And so we're really, really excited to be able to offer such a fun trip, virtually or not, today. So thank you to Igor. Igor is actually a local to the Venice area and has worked with my husband Mario in the past when they used to do big tours. And now we've all kind of gone local, which is awesome. And it is the way of the travel future. So anyway, Igor, if you want to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and let a couple of other people in here. And if you would like, we can go ahead and get started. I'm going to take my camera off and I'm going to hand it over to Igor. Ciao.
Ciao, buonasera, ciao a tutti. Welcome to Venice. And so as you hear, my name is Igor. I will be really excited to show you the beauties of Venice, actually. Let me tell you that today is freezing and is about 36, 38 degrees actually. And the entire situation is definitely really interesting. This real moment. And so we are expecting to have a pretty bad weather in the next few weeks, actually, because we're going to have a pretty big, strong wind that is arriving from Russia. So, and we are expecting high tide on the 26th of December. Right after that, everybody had big meals around the city. But let's start our little walk that is going to take us around the lovely city of Venice. And so along the way, actually, if you got any kind of questions, just go ahead in the chat box. That after that, Courtney, she's going to read and tell me all the ciao. Yeah, that's so everybody will be able to interact with me anytime. But here we go. This is pretty much the traffic that we are having at this real moment in Rialto Bridge. What's the traffic? One seagull there, that's it. And so we don't have much going on at this real moment. So it's definitely extremely quiet. We got a few delivery boats, but think about that at this real moment, the bookings, the occupancy rate here in Venice is about 26%. And so it's definitely extremely quiet at the entire area. And where are we all about? And so think about that Venice is approximately 1,600 years old. We got more than 400 bridges, 150 canals, and the big lovely boat that is arriving right in front of us right now is the Vaporetto. It's our local bus, actually. And this is pretty much the way that we normally move around. Even the kids or the adults to go to work, to go to school, or whatever else, this is normally the kind of vehicles that we're normally taking. Here we go. And so, by the way, just to give you an idea of the Rialto Bridge, think about that is for sure one of the oldest bridges that we got in town. It's approximately 500 years old. And that is already impressive. But what is really crazy is that underneath the Rialto Bridge, for each embankment, we got approximately 6,000 wooden pilings that are holding each embankment. And so 6,000 wooden pilings right and 6,000 wooden pilings left. 12,000 wooden pilings that are holding only this specific bridge. And the wood didn't get deteriorated for a reason. We got clay in basically underneath everything, and when we drill all the wooden pilings, the wood didn't get deteriorated because it didn't have any kind of air. And so in this way, actually, the entire wooden pilings, they turn into concrete itself. And so let's have a look at what is happening around the city of Venice today. Look at here. This is pretty much the highlight of the tour. This is the boat of the rubbish collection as we got in Venice. Of course, the crazy Italian sense of humor, but even the logistic is always extremely crazy here in Venice. And so there's a boat for everything. And so it means that the rubbish collection is done by boat. Of course, we got gondolas. That we got 433 gondolas, approximately 600 gondoliers, and the little boat that is arriving on our right-hand side, white and in wood, that is a regular water taxi actually for us, and that is like a yellow cab if you want. You have to know that the area that we are right now is definitely one of the oldest of the entire city. So it means that 1600 years ago, we started to develop, first of all, the area of Rialto. Why? Because actually Rialto, it was, if you don't mind to mute yourself, otherwise we're going to have some funny noises on the background. Thank you. And so the entire idea is that we started to develop this area 1600 years ago because it was definitely the oldest and the highest part that we had in Venice, actually. So it means that every time that we were having high tide, this part, it was going to be the last one that it would have got flooded. On the other hand, actually, this area, especially for all our American friends that they might be connected today, you have to know that this section is pretty amazing because it would have been, but it still is, like Wall Street. That's exactly where we took the most important spot where we took the most important economic decision for the entire city and for the entire island, actually. Courtney, can you unmute the people, please? Otherwise, I got the noise on my ear. I cannot hear anything.
Yeah. Hi, Elena. If you could, if you would mind to mute yourself, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so, on the other hand, actually think about that. All the spices, all the goods, the items, the silk that it was coming from all over the area of the Mediterranean, or even from China, it would have got right here. And this one, it would have been the most important business area that we would have had in the Venetian Republic. And so check it out, that we're slowly starting to have all the beautiful lights of the Venetian illuminations, actually. And so it means that the entire area, this area is extremely quiet and lovely. But on the other hand, actually, we got all the guys, if you can mute yourself, se potete levare l'audio per piacere, se siete italiani.
And Igor, actually, you have the ability to also.
Okay, but
you,
just give me a second. Let me check it out. If I can. Give me a second, because with the phone is a bit more complicated.
Так она же все равно поедет к эндокринологу в феврале.
Не знаю, я еще раз говорю. Потому что не ездил, блин, 5 дней поставил, никто не купил. Я говорю, ну вот видишь как. А ей не приходит в голову, что она может, ну не знаю, не...
So as we're figuring this out, if you have any questions, remember that you can use the chat at the bottom. So some people have not used Zoom before, but there is a chat feature at the bottom. So if you have any questions as we do the tour, then feel free to just click on the little chat icon at the bottom and it will take you to the chat box. And then of course, you might also be able to chat with each other if you're able to answer some of the questions as well.
Thank you, Courtney. Fix it. It should be fine now. Sorry for the inconvenience. And so just to give you the other idea, so where are we at this real moment? We are in the area that is called Ruga degli Oresi. And so this one, it would have been pretty much the spot where we were selling gold in the area of Venice, actually. And the majority of the frescoes that you are going to see here, they are extremely unique because all over the entire area of Venice, normally we don't have any, the humidity is extremely heavy. And so frescoes, normally they're not able to last for a really long period of time, actually. And so it means that the entire area, it would have been, sorry guys, but I'm still having noise on the background. Give me a second, let me see if I can mute somebody else. There we go. And so the entire idea is that definitely the entire section here, it would have been the spot where we were definitely selling gold. It's pretty much like Ponte Vecchio in Firenze that Cosimo dei Medici, he converted the entire bridge from butchers into gold shops. And here we go, something that is extremely unique. Here, when you come into Venice, and you can find it only here, we do have shops that they sell the typical gondolier striped t-shirts. And so every time that our gondoliers, they run out of t-shirts, sweater, or whatever else, this is pretty much the place that they are normally coming. Here we go, that they are slowly starting to switch all the lights on. And we are standing right on the top of the Rialto Bridge. That, of course, is pretty much the landmark, the crest, and the most important bridge in town. As we were mentioning, we got more than 400 bridges. And on the other hand, you have to know that this bridge replaced a wooden bridge. And so the wood was getting deteriorated really extremely fast and quick. And from that point on, actually, they decided to build up a stone bridge. Here we go. We got a little bit of the sunset, a little bit of the dusk that is arriving right now. And this is the majestic view over the Grand Canal. The Grand Canal is exactly like the Fifth Avenue. All the happenings, all the most important things that are normally going on through here. And as it can be in New York, here in Venice, it was exactly the same way. Having a palace along the Grand Canal, it was a sign that he was doing extremely well, for sure. And so think about that nowadays, buying a palace along the Grand Canal, you need approximately 40 million euros. I don't know if it is going to be a great investment because they already said that by the 2100, Venice is gone. Or by the 2100, we're going to have scuba diving tours. Or probably it's going to be the new Atlantis or anything similar. Think about that. This year we ended up having 58 days, extremely high tide days. So every time that we wake up is always a surprise, basically. So you might have a little bit of water inside of your kitchen or your dining room or anything similar. Or you might have water pretty much until your knees or half of your body. But as Italians, but especially as Venetians, we normally take it in a really, or at least we try to take it in a really positive way. You go to the kitchen, you got a bunch of sardines, octopuses that they are swimming around. At that point, you go like, hey guys, we got fresh fish. We got the catch of the day directly into, into the kitchen. And we go pretty much like, okay, we do fried fish today. And so there are no other ways to go through. Here we go. That's the typical traffic jam we got in town. Yeah, for us, it's already rush hours because the majority of the offices, they are ending up right now, especially the governative offices. And the view is quite amazing. The problem that we're facing in this past week is about extremely low tide, which is funny because normally we go everybody knows that we got the problems with the high tide, but this past week, pretty much Saturday, Sunday, Monday, yesterday and today, actually, some of the canals, we were not able to sail, even with the gondolas. That normally gondolas, they got the flat bottom, and so even if you don't have enough water, you can normally sail. But definitely with that lack of water, we were not even able to sail with the gondola. So the situation is definitely going extreme, and it's getting more and more and more complicated. Normally, the normal question that we're normally having is, what should we do? What is Venice doing to protect the city from the high tide and all these kind of things? Probably a lot of you actually saw some TV program, National Geographic, actually, and the majority of this TV program, they might have shown you that we are building up, or better, in 2003, we started to build up a project that is called Moses Project, that is a system of dikes, actually, that every time that the tide is arriving, we activate these barriers, because in this way, actually, we're supposed to block it off the entire high tide. At this real moment, we are able to activate something like 36 hours before the high tide. And the major problem is that every time that we activate those, it's worth 350,000 euros. But that's the only way to go, actually, because actually, if we don't activate, we're going to have a really wet day, or otherwise we need to repaint the entire houses. And that might be the other problem. Here we go. We got the amazing view over these incredible gondolas. Think about it, that we got approximately two gondola shipyards that they are still producing the gondolas exactly like in the past. And on the other hand, actually, we got 286 pieces of wood to build up a gondola. Plus, we got 8 different kinds of wood to make the entire gondola extremely flexible to maneuver it and take it around, actually. On the other hand, look at this. So this kind of iron piece here, this curved shape is representing the crown of the Doge. The Doge was like the king of Venice. The 6 stripes right over there, they are representing the 6 districts of Venice. In between the 6 stripes, you've got 3 more elaborated stripes, that is Murano, Burano, and Torcello. So the 3 little islands that there are in the Venetian Lagoon. The one all alone is the Giudecca Island, that normally is right opposite to Piazza San Marco. And this kind of S shape that is ending underneath the gondola is the shape of the Grand Canal. The arch is that arch, so we don't need to go too far. And then the half circle that is right over there is the bay of Piazza San Marco. On the other hand, actually, you have to know, especially for our friends that has been to Italy, you have to know that every time that you're coming into Italy, the square is called Piazza, Plaza. But here in Venice, we got only one piazza, which is Piazza San Marco. All the other squares, they are called Campo or Campiello, field or little field, because they would look like a field rather than a square. Look at here, something that is not a good sign, that as long as the Venetians, they start to see these things, the planks, it means that the high tide season is arriving, that the high tide season is on the way. And so it means that really soon we need to take all the rubber boots, the Wellingtons out, clean them, and prepare to play Jesus for a couple of days. Of course, that here the situation can be rather complicated. By the way, my best advice is anytime, if you're planning to come to Venice, remember, never come during during full moon time, because during full moon time, it means that you're going to have extra high tide, or just bring the rubber boots with you. It might be the other solution, actually. Folks, if you got any kind of questions, I will be really happy to answer. Remember, no silly questions, but I got a lot of stupid answers. But any kind of curiosity or whatever, just go ahead. So Courtney, if you saw any kind of question, just let me know. Just ask. Feel free to ask. That I will be, at least I will give you my point of view, or at least a point of view of a local.
Okay, so we have Jennifer who is asking, when does the high tide season end?
That is a great, don't get me wrong. I'm laughing for a reason. I'm laughing for what? Because until a few years ago, there was a high tide season. Well, the Venetians, they knew that starting from October, pretty much until March, we need to prepare our rubber boots. And when March was coming, we were pretty safe. Now it's not like that anymore, unfortunately. I give you this idea. It was June, July, that right here, it's a regular door. The tide here, it was pretty much up to there. And so what I'm trying to say is that we are slowly having high tide even during summertime. That it never happened before, actually. No, definitely it's a great question, and it is extremely important, especially when you are planning holidays in Italy. This is really practical, especially in Venice. And remember that normally June, July, August, and September, it can get extremely hot, actually. Think about it, that we can get the same temperature as it can be in Florida, but it's going to be as humid as Alabama, Mississippi, and all those areas, actually. We are still in a swamp, we are still in a marshland. And here, actually, the mosquitoes, they are going to be helicopters. You need to shoot them twice to kill them. And so that's how the situation can be. Before that we continue with the questions, I would like to show you this. Oh, here we go. Let me see. Look, we got a funny face right here. We got a nose. We got the head. He's smoking a pipe. Look at the details of these shoes. This marble carving is right in front of the city hall. He is approximately 500 years old. He has been done right after that they brought the tobacco from South America into Venice itself. Hold on. Something extremely important for our ladies. Look. Elena, Lucrezia, Cornaro, Piscopia. On the 25th of June, 1678, she was born here in 1646. So she has been the first woman in the world that she graduated in the Padua University. So you have to know something to be extremely proud of. And so the Padua University is only, let's say, 20, 30 minutes away from here. And Padua is one of the oldest universities that we got in Italy. The oldest one is Bologna, and Padua is dated back to 1222. Galileo Galilei, he has been a teacher here, or better here in Padua. And so the table that Galileo Galilei used is still inside of the Padua University, and you can see it. And that one is quite amazing, actually. And Courtney, if you got any other question, just go ahead.
I will definitely interrupt.
Sì, bene, grazie. Just to talk about a little bit of the Christmas traditions here in the area of Venice, Italy, and so on. Almost a week, actually, because it happened last Saturday. that here, of course, in Venice, we got so many canals, so many gondolas, and we had a Babbo Natale, and so Santa Claus regatta. So all the gondoliers, they were dressed up like Santa Claus, and they were competing along the Grand Canal. And that was fun, and that was really cool, actually. And so, especially all the kids, they were having extremely fun to see Babbo Natale that he was riding along the Grand Canal. And then let me see if I can show you some of the local cookies, Biscotti and Panettone. It is here in Italy right now is around 4:30 in the afternoon. Is the perfect timing for cookies and all these beautiful things. Here we go. That we got all the little cookies with that they look like the Christmas tree, or you got the miniature of the Pandoro. That is normally the kind of cake that we are normally eating during Christmas time. It can be plenty, it can be plain, or otherwise it can be stuffed with cream or the limoncello and so on. Oh, here we go, nougatine, the torrone, that it can be with almonds or otherwise nuts or otherwise chocolate. So normally this is the other great present that you can give to friends, actually. And here we go. Of course, this is the king of the Italian tables during Christmas time. So during that time, actually, we got the panettone. That at the end of the day, he has been invented between Milan and Verona. And normally inside you got raisin, dried fruit, and there is a kind of a soft bread, and it's really, really tasty. And you might have a back kick on your tasting orange. Those are normally pretty nice and good. So we're not far from Piazza San Marco. Here we go, that we're slowly starting to have a few Christmas lights and few Christmas illuminations. Yeah, the majority of the people that you got around at this real moment, they are French or locals, actually. And let me tell you, it's definitely nice and crispy at the moment. Let's see what is going to happen.
Maybe you can talk a little bit about the best time to visit Venice, because I know a lot of people have that question.
Sí. And so, talking about the best time to visit Venice from my point of view, and then of course it depends when you got holidays, so that not always you can choose when to have holidays. But the entire idea is that if you're coming here during springtime, I would definitely say that March, April, May, Venice is beautiful, especially because we got a lot of plants of wisteria. And so you got these incredible, lovely flowers that are going to be in blossom, especially in, let's say, in the off the beaten path areas, and that is fantastic. And then, as we said before, June, July, August, September, normally is a kind of busy. Starting from October, going pretty much until November is quiet, lovely, relaxing, less people around. And think about that pretty much until Halloween, so 31st of October, I was wearing t-shirts and shorts. And so the climate, the temperature was pleasant and nice. And so think about that if you are even coming in October, that it will be great. Let's say during Christmas time, and especially January and February, it can be pretty cold, not as crazy cold as it can be in New York, actually, but we might have snow sometimes. So if you're coming during winter time, just come prepared with gloves, beanies, hats, scarves. So in this way, you will be able to move around without problems. And that is going to be a kind of fun normally, especially if you don't like big crowds. Let's say October, November, December, in January, February, those are great. And then for all the carnival lovers, remember that normally between February and March, because every year is changing, you got Carnevale. And so you got something like 100,000 people that they are in Piazza San Marco for the inauguration of the carnival. Did you see any question, Courtney?
I don't see any questions, but maybe you can also give us a little bit of an idea of the size of Venice, transportation around Venice. I know a lot of travelers are surprised when they arrive to know that getting to and from is maybe a little bit different than they had expected. So
Yeah, that might be a problem sometimes. Yeah, let's say I tell you funny stories, and don't get me wrong. Once I had a guest that he got to Venice and he stayed in the hotel for something like 4 days. Why? He didn't know that we were an island and we were totally surrounded by water. He was totally afraid of water. So remember, once that you're coming into Venice, we are into islands. It's not one island. There are 120 islands connected by bridges. And so, important things. Comfortable shoes. Girls, ladies, no high heels here. We need to be comfy. Otherwise, that might be an issue. But let's say if you're coming with sneakers, but anyway, flat shoes, that might be pretty good. Remember that in the past, we would have docked our gondola right here and we would have jumped directly into the kitchen directly from here. And so definitely, if you're coming to Venice, try to pack it light. And once that you're coming here, remember that to move around, we're moving with boats. And so to give you a practical idea, here you can definitely get a 24-hour pass for the boat. And the 24-hour pass is worth 20 euros. You can see no cars, brava. The only wheels that we got in the street are your trolleys, and the wheels of the trolleys, the wheel of the luggage, actually, but no wheels at all, no cars. Or otherwise, you might have the only vehicle around. They might be the push bike or the little kids that they play around, or some roller blades, always on the kids, but no bicycle, no cars, and nothing of those things, actually. On the other hand, actually, if you buy this 24-hour pass, you got unlimited boat rides, and you can easily go everywhere, anywhere without problems. And the water buses, they're running 24 hours. And it's like catching the metro in New York, actually. Let's say gondolas, normally you catch the gondola in one spot and you finish at the same spot. They take you into a round trip, actually. And so it's not working like a taxi that you jump into a gondola and you're like, okay, I'm in the train station, take me to Piazza San Marco. Now, normally they give you a tour that is normally going to be divided by Grand Canal, and so the main highway, and the inner canals. Normally, inner canals, they are way much nicer because in this way, actually, you got less waves, and it is more interesting to be in the inner canals rather than the Grand Canal. And you can clearly see that this one is one of the largest gondola stations or gondola parking lot that we got in town. Here we go. It's arriving right now. It's docking, parking. Look, this is giving you already the idea. 26% of bookings is making Venice pretty empty, and the majority of the people actually they are roaming around. Now it's too cold probably to do a gondola ride, and they're already preparing all the gondolas for night actually. Yeah, about gondolas, there's no let's put it in this way. Doesn't matter where you're taking it. It will be always beautiful, actually. You can catch it in Piazza San Marco. You can catch it in Rialto Bridge. But everywhere that you will be taking the gondola, it will be always magic and spectacular, of course. Any other question, Courtney? Did you see anything?
I don't. I was just checking to see if there was anybody else trying to get in. I don't see any other questions. Remember, you can use the chat feature down at the bottom if you're unfamiliar with Zoom to type a question for Igor. And then, of course, to make his video bigger, you can pin. You can click on pin video and it will make it the size of your screen, just to let you know. Any questions, anyone? Everyone's
Yeah,
tired. They're getting ready for the holidays, and everyone's tired from wrapping all of their presents, I think. So
it might be the situation actually. Here, actually, in Italy, everybody is cooking. Is already 1 week that everybody is preparing the lasagna and all the food for for the Christmas and New Year's Eve and everything. I'm pointing the camera down because at least at the real end we're going to have the wow effect because we are going to be in the most important square in town, of course. Ready. Here we go. That we go. The so famous Piazza San Marco, actually. That every time that they show Piazza San Marco, this is the place that you see it in the television, actually. It's pretty big, and normally it's not this quiet and lovely and empty. No, think about that in a year round, you can get in Venice approximately 30 million of tourists. In a normal day, actually, we got 50,000 inhabitants, 80,000 commuters, 20, 30,000 students. And during the high season, you might have 300,000 tourists that they are coming here for as a day trip. Yeah, as you can see, all the buildings that are on our right-hand side, they are the Procurarie. They used to be governative offices on the Doge's palace. Nowadays, they're all part of the museums, actually. And on the lower part, you do have shops. In a second, anyway, we're going to have a look inside the Florian cafeteria, what is happening. And then actually we're going to see the bay of Piazza San Marco. And think about that the wing that is right in front of us at this real moment actually is the Napoleon wing. That's exactly the wing that has been created and built up by Napoleon. And think about that before the 1800, here we would have had a church. Napoleon didn't like it, he tore it down, and he converted the entire section here as the royal apartments. And so Napoleon, Franz Joseph, Sissi. So we're talking about the emperor and the empress of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. They slept here, including the Italian kings and queens. And think about that the big bell tower that is on our right-hand side, it's a replica because in 1902 collapsed completely. So 1996, 1997, they done massive injection of concrete to stabilize the entire situation, actually. Before that, it would have fell off again. But think about that in 1600 years, actually, we've been extremely lucky. Even if we are Italians, normally we're not that reliable, but definitely nothing collapsed, nothing fell off, and that has been pretty unreal. Even with the last earthquake that we had a few years ago that hit Rome, Bologna. Here in Venice, actually, we had a bunch of statues from a garden that they fell off, but that's it. So we've been really, really lucky. But think about it, that we are based in sand. The same idea is exactly like San Francisco. And so the sand is absorbing the movement of the earthquakes. Yeah, look how pretty out these arches are. And normally is extremely fantastic and lovely and beautiful. And in a second, we will be able to see the Caffè Florian, which is the oldest cafeteria that we got in Italy. Of course, as you know, Italians, they are coffee addicted. If we don't drink our 10, 11, 12 espressos a day, we are not normal. if we ever been normal here in Italy. And then definitely I think about that an espresso is pretty much the equivalent of 12 American coffees. Normally for us, the American coffees is dirty water because it's not strong enough. So 300 years ago, we definitely opened up the Florian Cafe. And starting from that point on, all the Venetians and the Italians, actually, they started to freak out in approximately 20, 30 years, we ended up from one cafeteria in Piazza San Marco, we ended up having approximately 30 cafeterias in the entire square. And the majority of the coffee would have come directly from Turkey. And even there, the tradition of making coffee is pretty important. So let's have a look. Let me go this way. That's so we go right in the middle of the square, so you can see exactly what is happening. Yeah, think about that. These are normal chairs. 2019, the water was pretty much up to here. And so it was almost half of my body. So the situation was extremely bad, actually. And that kind of flood, it caused approximately 2 up to 3 million euros of damages on the marble floor of the St. Mark Basilica. And so the St. Mark Basilica, think about it, that is 1100 years old. And it wasn't, let's say, a basilica at the beginning, but it was definitely the private chapel of the Doge. So the Doge, so the King of Venice, every time that he would need to pray, he was coming exactly in his private chapel, which is not bad. On the other hand, actually, if you've been to Italy, you know exactly how the churches, they look like. Once that you come into Venice, the situation is totally different, actually, because this church, this basilica, it looked like a mosque, or it's got a pretty strong Byzantine influence, especially if you think about Istanbul, Constantinople, and Hagia Sophia, and that is definitely closer to that idea rather than Italian church or Italian basilica. On the other hand, actually, even the mosaics, they are pretty amazing and pretty incredible, because they are always arriving from the culture of Constantinople, and then, of course, Ravenna, which is not far from Bologna. It gave us the other big kick and the other big important idea of the style here in Venice. Look at here. We're slowly starting to see our astronomical clock, and slowly is starting to turn into dark. One little tip for the next time that you are coming into Venice. Normally, to go inside of the Basilica, the line is extremely long, extremely never-ending. If you enter from the side, so the main entrance is this one, you enter from the left. Right on the left-hand side, normally you got a guard that is standing there. You just tell them that you will be going inside to pray. And every night, and so this is happening only every night at 6:45 p.m., 6:45 p.m., you do have the evening mass. And so you can pop in, you got a 20 minutes mass, and you can definitely enjoy the entire mosaics of the Basilica. And that is normally the quickest and the best way to enjoy the mosaics. Here we go, that we're slowly starting to have our lovely Christmas tree.
Yes, and I'm looking to see if my favorite little cafe over here on the right is up and running. I
That
know
one.
yeah.
The Chioggia.
Yes, I always love to hear the music playing and sit and have a nice drink and people watch. So yes.
But I agree with you, Courtney. The thing is, and so just to give you an idea for the people that they are connected with us, think about that that bar, the Chioggia bar actually is pretty interesting for a reason, because normally here they play more jazz music. The other two cafeterias, actually, they rather prefer to play more classical music, that it can be Vivaldi or anything similar, actually. But now in a second, we're going to see how the Chioggia Cafe are doing. Here we go. So this year, actually, we ended up going back to the most classical Christmas tree, because last year we were having different complaints because the Christmas tree was a little bit too modern, and quite a lot of people actually, they didn't really really like it. And so this year, actually, the main colors is red and gold, exactly like the Venetian flag. And so, as you can see, it's quite nice and pretty. And let's turn a little bit around, that's so I can give you another different perspective from the square. Here we go. Look, we got red, of course, and those Christmas tree decorations. And we got the regular Christmas balls, all in gold. Yeah, last year, actually, everybody was complaining because the Christmas tree, here we go, you can hear the bells, that is around 5. The Christmas tree, it was more between the two columns, so it was pretty much down that area. And the majority of the Venetians, they were complaining because definitely it wasn't matching with the entire city, actually, because it was definitely too modern, it wouldn't match perfectly with the Biennale. Because you have to know that here we got the Biennale on modern art. And so every time, especially next year, we're going to have the modern art exhibition that is going to take place right here in Venice. And that is going to be a big important thing. And so that it would have matched, it would have fit perfectly with the Biennale itself, actually. Here we go. On the other hand, these reconstruction works, those fences over there, what are they doing? They're mainly building up a waterproof barrier to protect Venice from the high tide. That's exactly what is happening at this real moment. And while that they are digging, cleaning, and refixing, they found 2 skeletons that it wasn't expected, actually. And so it's going to be a big, massive, important reconstruction work, actually. It's something that it needs to be done before that we're going to have problems with mold, moisture, and the marble is going to crack it down and all these kind of things, actually. Here we go. And so you can definitely see how the Chioggia Cafe still look like and if they're doing okay or not. Let's say at this real moment, they took the piano out of the way. Normally, you got the stage that is exactly here. And I don't think that they will be able to play in this kind of weather, that they won't be able to feel the finger after 2 seconds. But it's okay.
It's a classic, though. I love to sit there outside.
I definitely agree with you. Definitely coming here and having hot chocolate with whipped cream is definitely a classic for everybody. Even the Venetians, when you got the family with the little kids, winter time, you're coming this side for the hot chocolate with the whipped cream. And then we got the summer version. Not far from the Guggenheim Museum, not far from the Ponte dell'Accademia, the Academy Bridge. Right over there, we got gelati da Nico. Gelati, ice cream, da Nico. Nico's ice cream, basically. And you have to try the gianduiotto, which is definitely a brick of chocolate with hazelnut inside with whipped cream. And that is a bomb, actually. It's a super energetic chocolate ice cream, and that is fantastic, actually. And so normally when you are a little child, but even later, when you are 45 years old, you are still going back by Nico to get the gianduiotto. It's a classic for us. Here we go.
Is it ever too cold for gelato?
No, it's never too cold for gelato, actually.
For us, it's never too cold.
Even if you are fighting against polar bear or penguins, it's never too cold, actually. Even if your tongue is going to get stuck in the brick of ice cream, it's like, No, I agree. You know better than me, having kids, how it's working.
I think they live on gelato when we're there. So So let's talk a little bit about the columns here.
And so the columns that are standing right in front of us, in a second, give me a second, I'm turning around. And so let's start from this point. How do you know if you are a local or if you are a tourist? Normally, the Venetians, they never cross in between the columns. Why? Italians, they are extremely superstitious. For us, actually, this one, it would have been the execution spot. So we never go through this area, but we go around. And the entire idea is that we have to know to make our kids behave. Normally here, what we say, I show you the time, because before being executed on the stage right here, the last thing that you would have seen on the distance, it would have been the clock tower. And so definitely saying to your kids, I show you the time, is pretty much execution on the spot. I kill you right away. And at that point, the little kids, they're going to hear these bells that is going to be like danger, bling, 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 aiuto, aiuto, help me. And normally you start to behave. But on the other hand, actually, this one, it would have been the main gate where all the merchants, they would have come. And so on the top of the column, this one on the right, we got the Leone di San Marco, and so the winged lion of St. Mark. And St. Mark is one of the 4 evangelists, one of the 12 apostles, is the patron saint of Venice. And this one is Saint Theodore, that he used to be the previous saint that he was in charge of Venice when the Turks, they were here actually. And the entire big massive palace that is standing right in front of us, for us this one is 1100 years old, and 120 Doge, 120 kings rule the Venetian Republic. And it's pretty impressive. I give you something. And so when you got a second, go to Google, digit Buffalo Bill Venice. I know that it sounds funny, but you will be able to see a picture of that has been taken between the 1800 and 1900 inside of the Doge's palace in the courtyard of a Buffalo Bill with the Indians, that he was a tourist here while that he was performing with the circus. And there's even a picture of him that is docking to the church of San Giorgio Maggiore, St. George the Great, in a gondola with 4 or 5 Indians, actually. So that is totally unexpected. I mean, normally you expect to see Buffalo Bill in a circus, in a rodeo, in the States, chasing bison or anything similar, but not really Venice, actually. And so definitely was performing in Venice, Padua, and Vicenza, and even in Treviso, which is the city where I live right now. And that are town cities that they are not far from here, actually. And that was really interesting. Look how beautiful the view is from here. Yeah, the sunset is not spectacular today, unfortunately, because it's starting to be foggy and misty. Here we go. I show you one of the last things. So we're going to see the Bridge of Sights. That normally everybody loves it and they think that it's so romantic. Let's say that the guilty people, they didn't really think that it was that romantic. Why Bridge of Sights? Because actually, right here, we got the Justice Palace. You would have crossed the Bridge of Sights and you was like, this is the end of my life. I'm going to the dungeons. I'm going to be executed after that. And so everybody was definitely extremely disappointed at that point. And that would have been a big, massive problem. So here we go. Slowly, we're going to proceed. Give me a second that I don't see much anymore. That's starting to be cold with the mask. The entire glasses, they're going to be. Here we go. You can clearly see how beautiful this entire bridge is. It's the most important connections definitely between the Doge's Palace and the prisons that has been operating until that 1918. Let me take you on the other side. 1 second. Again, I don't see anything. I got the steps to go down. Here in Venice, we're famous for bridges. If you saw in the news, we're trying to replace the steps of the Calatravas Bridge, the Constitution Bridge that is linking Piazzale Roma, so the bus and car terminal, with the train station. And because they are made out of glass, and they are extremely slippery, actually. A few years ago that it was snowing, 250 people ended up into the hospital. And they broke the legs, bones, or whatever else. Here we go. This view is just spectacular, as you can tell, as you can see. It's really nice. Here we go. We got even a gondola that is arriving right at this moment. And so if you got any kind of question, go ahead. We are pretty much at the end of our tour, actually.
Any questions from anyone? If so, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Igor. No questions. We have a very silent group today.
I was silent too. That normally I'm shy.
I don't believe that. I don't know.
Why?
Well, thank you so much. This is absolutely beautiful. Even this time of year, you can see that Venice is spectacular. I did put a link for Igor. This was a free tour, of course, but tips are always appreciated. So I did put a PayPal link in there that all of your tips go directly to him. And of course, if you're interested in seeing, and maybe you came in a little bit late, I'm going to put up our Facebook page again here for you. I did record this tour, so if you're interested, and also I'll put a little bit more information about Igor and also the PayPal link up there for you. So thank you so much. Grazie mille, and thank you.
Grazie mille, buon Natale, happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays to you. Happy holidays.
Ciao, grazie mille.